So, yeah, where did I go? I think part of the disappearing. So it's been a while. Like I said in the last video, it's been a while since I shared some stuff on this channel, and I got pulled into my own journey. And what that looks like is contracting or withholding. So when I say contracting, like if you pull your body together, if you pull your body towards yourself, that pulling, the tensing of your muscles, that's kind of a reflection of what's happening in your head and your heart, or let me speak for myself, in my head and my heart. When I think of who I want to become and how I want to show up for my kids, and when I think about the gap between what my own expectations, and I place high expectations on myself, so my own expectations and my experience of how I show up, uh, emotionally, physically, financially, and I consider the tension between that gap's been, so not only has it been wider than I hoped, it's also been more intense than I hoped. Way, way more intense. And my wrestle to make sense of that, to make sense of my own showing up, my own thinking, my own feeling, my personal powers. And when I think about my personal powers, how I've been using them or not using them, and I think about showing up, the the experience I have in each moment has been one of, sure, disappointment, or self-judgment. It's a better way to put it. It's like, oh man, this isn't good. This is not what I hope. I'm not being the man I want to be. I'm not able to be the dad I want to be. I don't feel like I'm a cool dude. And then I tell myself that this has a detrimental impact, a damaging impact on my child, on the relationship or the container of relating to my children or each of my children. And because of the discomfort I experience in that perspective, so if I can draw a picture, it's like I'm talking to you. So I'm in this room, there's a camera that I'm looking into, and on the other side of that camera, as you watch this, there's you. But imagine there's a third person in the room. There's another person looking in the space. And that would be, so I would be first perspective, you second perspective. And we're talking about this third perspective. So when I take this third position and I look in on the scenario, and let's exchange you, the viewer, to I'm thinking about my relating to my child and their response to me. As third person, I can start to see there's more going on in the system. And I look at myself from third perspective. As third person, I look at myself and I think, man, I'm double taking. So I'm behaving, and then when I consider my own behavings, cool word. When I consider my own behavior, I calibrate, I measure that behavior, I calibrate, and I give it a meaning. And most of the meanings I give is disappointment, sadness, frustration, sometimes even anger. And in the last while, so not just the last year or 2 years, the last long time, a lot of shame. And then when I experience, so when I step into that disappointment, for example, then I contract, and I'm like, oh man, it's like I've lost my power, I've lost my sense of self-worth, my sense of self-esteem, my ability to esteem myself is really low. And I also lose a sense of my ego strength. So I actually feel fragile. I feel weak in a sense. So as I say that, I can imagine some of the guys listening to this is like, oh man, this is like really soft stuff. Yeah, sure. That's what many guys present on the outside. However, when I have conversations, one-on-one conversations, or when we're in a safe space of chatting like as men together, a lot of guys will tell me, yeah, I get this. This makes sense. I reckon I resonate with this. So let me come back to my picture. So I feel the disappointment of the measure I give to my own behavior in the work that I do, in the money that I generate, in how I show up to my kids, in how I'm doing as a dad, in the response I get from my kids. And in practicing disappointment, I go there. I experience that disappointment. And I wonder what that experience feels like to you. So to me, it's heavy. To me, it has a sadness to it. To me, it has like I want to withdraw. I want to withhold. I'm like, if I'm powerful and confident, excited, I'm like, man, I fill the space. But when I'm doing that, disappointed about myself, I pull back. And when I do that pulling back, then as third person, I'll notice that Robin, first person, that's what the contraction looks like. When I engage with my kid, I get confused. I don't see the moment for what it is. I see the moment through the lens of my own measurement, my own judgment. And in that moment, I don't have the freedom to be just me, just powerfully me, without shame or guilt or disappointment or anger or frustration. So it's kind of like I show up in that next conversation with my kid already tainted, already through a veil, like a blanket, not as powerful as I could be. And then because of the meanings I give, third person, I'm looking into that system, I might see my child responding to what they're seeing and hearing and feeling, which is me showing up through this calibration, through this measurement, right? Not me showing up in my intention or my aspiration, my desire, because I've let go of my power and I've taken on these other things, and I, like a cloak, like a jacket, I pull that shirt on, I put that jacket on, and that's what I show up in, that contracted version of me when I show up in my relating to my kids. I wonder if you're tracking with me so far, and I wonder if that resonates. If you find, when you think of how you chat with your children, perhaps on the phone, perhaps in when you get time with them, and you find yourself, try this on. It's like you're you're behaving in the way that you think you need to behave because of this meaning that you give. There's almost like one or two or three or many layers between who you want to be, who you are when you're with yourself, and who you show up to your kid. And the primary reason for me doing that, I guess in the coaching work we do, we'd call that personalizing. So I would take a look at that scenario, and because of the way I calibrate and the meanings I give to my own thinkings and my own feelings and my own behaviors, and I look at the scenario, so back into that third position, I look at the work that I have or don't have, the income that I have or don't have, the toys that I have or don't have, and I give them each a meaning, and I allow that meaning to say, I reflect it back and I allow that meaning to say something about me. And because in that season of my life, my ego strength was low, so my self-esteem was fragile, my self-worth, my sense of self was fragile. And because of that fragility, it was easy for me to mistake the meanings I was giving when I calibrate the stuff to equal that I am not well. When I don't have the money I want, oh, there's something wrong with me. When I don't have the car that I want, oh, there's something wrong with me. When I don't have the opportunities that I want or I think I should have, oh, there's something wrong with me. And when there's something so wrong, or so many somethings so wrong with me, then I made this mistake that, oh, there is something fundamentally wrong about me. And in that confusion, I step into that, and that's where I'm not my powerful self, my genius self, wonderfully made by God, the way that I am. I contract, and it's kind of like I'm like, okay, I listen to all that stuff, and I allow myself. I have been allowing myself to be the smaller guy, and then showing up towards my kid, stepping in like okay, yeah, I can't think that big, I can't be that big, I have to be aligned to this version of myself that I've convinced myself I am, because I've been personalizing. And I wonder if that resonates with you, that doesn't have to be the way. If you want to change, well, here's what I'm doing. As I change, as I become more conscious, so real-time aware of how I'm doing personalizing, and I'm able to see my beliefs, what I tell myself about myself, and how those beliefs create emotions, emoting, and those feelings that I experience, emotion, creates physical sensations, and how they influence how I show up with my kids, what confidence I have, what compassion I'm able to show. And as I do that personal work, as I sift through those things, I'm able to show up expansively, less contracted, more aligned to who I am with my kids, in the way that I relate, in the way that I speak, in the way that I react, in the way that I send messages. Now, dude, I ain't perfect. I'm far from perfect. I'm kind of recalibrating and on my journey again. And perhaps you are there too. Perhaps you're nowhere near where you want to be. But just one step moving forward is better than where you were yesterday. And perhaps that first step is considering that personalizing. Like, yeah, if you were to personalize less and be able to just to make a distinction between what's going on around you and not allow that to say something about you, so that you don't contract. And perhaps you're not ready to get from out of contraction into expansion, but rather just get back to neutral. And there's so many tools, and you can engage with me directly. We can chat about some tactics and tools and strategies to deal with this stuff, so that when you realize you're personalizing, that you can stop that strategy and you can just become present. One of the strategies I use is breath, just to interrupt the amygdala, and to change my thinking, like I describe in the book Get Activated, to be able to respond to what's going on around me and not be caught up like a victim in reactive, so instinctive reactions, but to become intentional with my responses. But that's another whole conversation. So what's this video about? My invitation, my first awareness, and I'm going to try unpack a number of these in the next couple of weeks. My first awareness is, hey dude, maybe you're personalizing. And most people will say, no, but Robin, you don't understand. Yeah, and maybe perhaps you might not like how this sounds, and perhaps you see different, or you feel that you're doing better. And perhaps you might be personalizing more than you realize. And my challenge was that I was so proficient at personalizing, I wasn't able to see when I was doing it to myself. But perhaps if you can just find a crack in that strategy and just allow that thinking to open up, and to see how dude, the challenge is not with your kids. The challenge is not with your environment. The challenge is not with your work or your colleagues. Your challenge is not with your bank balance. One of the challenges might start here, that you're doing personalizing. And it doesn't matter what happens in the world around you, you mistake it or anything to say something about you. And when you're in that space, when I was in that space, I didn't even see or recognize how much a victim I was, how much I was doing victim thinking. And I couldn't see how all the other things, I'm going to unpack some of the other cognitive distortions, or the thinking strategies that were holding me back and creating limiting beliefs and unresourceable behaviors. But it started with becoming aware of just how much I have in the past been personalizing. So I'm doing a whole lot less of that. I ain't perfect. It's just one step at a time. But yeah, if you're still watching this video, as you hear me say these things, if they resonate for you, if this is landing for you, it's like, dude, yeah, sure, okay, I'm in my own way. I invite you to reach out. Send me a DM. Let me know what it is that you feel like you're doing. Where specifically in your life are you doing this? Where are you taking yourself too seriously? Or where can you not let go of yourself and just be present in the moment? Or when, for one great example, doesn't matter if your child is saying something and you can't distinguish between, you can't get into second person or third person, you can't tell the difference between just what they're saying without mistaking and interpreting what's been said to be saying something about you. Perhaps you're personalizing. Or perhaps with your partner, your wife, your ex-wife, if it doesn't matter what they say, it just takes a few moments, like a split second, and you're like, oh, you see, you're attacking me. This is about me. And maybe it's not, dude. Maybe it's just is. Maybe it is just what it is. And like me, I've done this in the past. Perhaps you're personalizing stuff and you're taking whatever's going on in your environment and you're pulling it back to point towards you, yourself, as if it says something about you. And yeah, before I repeat this whole message, my invitation to you is that it doesn't have to be that way. And when you can start to make a shift here, then this becomes an opportunity to see significant shifts in other aspects of your life. And as you do that, I look forward to hearing how you become more you, aligned to your authentic self. And as you be a better dude, you can become a better dad. And that's my wish for you, that you can change who you are. Not that you need changing. You can upgrade, evolve who you are so that the container of you relating to your children can become something beautiful for you. Okay, my name's Robin. We will chat again soon.